and that's done on there. Let's give it a couple of seconds for it to kick
That'll
in.
probably be like a 20-second delay.
Yeah,
Ooh.
probably about 20 seconds maybe delay.
You can change that. At least you used to be able to, but I don't know now if you have to like be a certain standing, so to speak.
Yeah, I'll look into that. There we go.
I
That's live on mine.
like what you've done there, Carl. Very good. Very, very.
Oh, yeah, I need to mute it because there is a
Debated
hell of a
whether or
delay.
not to put him in the Arsenal kit.
Hmm.
And to be honest, that wasn't my first idea to have Declan Rice. I actually was Googling pictures of David Moyes. But you know when you try and save an image on Google and it's like,
Hey, baby.
it saves as like a fucking web app or some shit. It doesn't even save as a
You what,
picture.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, there you go. Andy's not got a camera.
I like it.
Neither is Mike now. We're just looking
Not
at
for
his keyboard.
I like it. He's got a very fancy keyboard. He's got a nice Honda key.
Okay, it seems like every voice is coming
Sorry.
through all good.
Excellent.
I had to make a
So
quick
let's
decision.
quick decision.
Split decision.
Mike.
Otherwise, there would have been some bans for bare flesh.
Okay, let's. It's only testing purposes, but let's just because me and Mike have been putting off speaking anything football related.
Well, I haven't. Carl's been telling me off for it.
Yeah, you might as well save the material. It's better when it's fresh.
Yeah, you might as well
Andy.
crack on because I haven't seen much.
Well, you've seen the results, though, right?
Most of them, but I can have a quick refresh.
You've seen the
Footmob is
West Ham
glorious.
result, though, right?
I have now, yes.
What are your first thoughts? Or what
I
were
mean,
your first
obviously,
thoughts when you saw it?
I mean, yeah, straight away, obviously, pretty damn happy to get 3 points with Chelsea involved.
That's a pretty goddamn good result, man.
It is,
What I
yeah.
would
I mean, like I was saying earlier on, I genuinely have not seen anything. I haven't even seen the goals. I do know that old Paqueta took a penalty and scored.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
Mate, he
that
looked
goal.
like he wasn't going anywhere today from what I saw.
I mean, that is good in a respect, but
He
I'd like
was
to think that he's obviously just being a
giving it the
professional.
old.
Yeah.
I'd like to just remind Andrew that his prediction last week for the score for the West Ham Chelsea game was 3-1 to Chelsea.
Hey, I mean, I ain't being
Yeah, I
funny,
mean,
but the amount of money Chelsea spent, I was being realistic. I thought it would be a bit of a slap.
we gotta say,
Because
you got to back your team, Andy. You got to back your team.
but looking on the foot mob with like 24% possession, I
Yeah,
feel like luck was quite involved.
I've
No,
got
it
foot mob
wasn't.
on.
It wasn't actually. It
Um,
wasn't. West Ham controlled the game quite well. Obviously, Chelsea looked dangerous when they went ahead. When they because obviously, fair Sterling and Jackson looked really good working together, linking up because they were both pacey. But yeah, there was the odd little moment where Chelsea could have scored, but I mean, Paquette hit the post. He could have put a second one in. Yeah, it was quite an even game. It might not look like it statistically, but it looked quite even.
I only
At
watched
the
the
end of
second
the
half.
day,
I was
West
out,
Ham took the chances.
and yeah, I heard from the commentators when I was watching the second half that it wasn't necessarily a desert. It come across well. It was Carragher, so obviously it sounded from a neutral that just come into the second half that you didn't deserve to be winning. But it was like he even said West Ham don't care, they're winning. But Mike's obviously watched it and he's
I'm a neutral.
disagreeing with
celebrating.
Carragher. You fucking tell him.
Yeah. No, honestly, I think West Ham held their own. I mean, there was times when Chelsea looked dangerous and they looked like they could score. But
I mean, that's a
the one thing that Chelsea don't have, and this is something that must have been picked up. I'm guessing like even Chelsea fans will say this: the amount of times the ball was put into the box and they didn't have an outright number 9 just in the box waiting to poach a ball. There was just no one there.
Mm.
Like the Drogba
But
of his day.
yeah, they haven't got that person. They haven't got that person. I mean, neither is West Ham really. I mean, Antonio's number 9, but he's not a poacher as such, is he? He's known for
No.
his strength and running at people, and he's not
Holding
really.
up the ball.
Yeah, he's not like a technical player, is he? He's just a, I'm big, you're small, get out my way kind of thing, isn't he?
You had,
Yeah.
I mean, 12 shots against Chelsea 17. I mean, it would have been really interesting if Dave was on this evening as well, because obviously he watched it. So it would be very interesting to see what his view on the game was.
Dave would be angry.
Yeah, Dave's going to be.
I mean, accurate passes, 622 against 157. I mean, that's mental.
There was a lot of yellow cards in this game as well, and a red card. One of the players got sent off for West Ham, didn't they? This actually, I think it was the guy who scored the first goal, Aguirre.
Aguirre,
Yeah, he scored the first
I
goal
don't
and
know how
was
you
sent
say his
off.
name. Yeah, it was a
But
double yellow, wasn't it?
yeah, it was 2 yellows.
Yeah,
But what I
that
would
was
say,
one of the
Rosie,
moments that I actually saw when the second yellow come out. My initial thought was like he fell over, but then when they slowed it
no, it
down,
was
I was like, yeah, it's a
that
yellow
second
card.
one was that second one was definitely a yellow. I can't remember
Yeah,
why he got the first
definitely a
yellow,
yellow
but the
card.
second one was definitely yellow.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's always one thing you can be happy about, Rosie, and that is the fact that that penalty cost Chelsea £115 million, euros,
Yeah.
whatever it may be.
Yeah, man,
Caicedo came on the pitch, and 10 minutes later he conceded the penalty.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that's wild.
You know what I mean? Like that's
on his debut.
That's Chelsea over the past 2 seasons in a nutshell, isn't it? Here's a £100 million player. Let's see how many things he can do wrong, because he ain't gonna do nothing right.
Yeah, that was just the worst version of what he could have done.
Yeah.
Did he come from Brighton? Where did he come from?
Yeah, he came from Brighton. Yeah,
Yeah.
from Brighton. And I mean, if you look how Brighton, I know Brighton haven't played no offense to the teams, but they haven't played the strongest of opponents the past 2 games. Look at
You
Brighton
slow
are still
yourself
flying
down
without
there,
him.
Michael.
Why?
They played the mighty Wolves, I believe, yesterday.
We don't want to talk about that today, though, do we? We don't. I've just made an intro video for this channel saying that we'll skip that.
No one gets left behind, Carl.
Fucking hell. What a fucking
It
piece
also
of
means
shit
we have
that
to
was.
talk about how Villa annihilated the 3rd team that are going to be relegated this season.
There's a few bits to get into in there. There's a few bits to get into.
Yeah.
I think
we've also got predictions to make for next week. I don't know if you want to do them after Monday's game or if you want to do them in preparation for next weekend.
I think we could probably do that Wednesday because Dave will more than oh no, because he's away this week, isn't he?
Yeah, he's away.
So we'll get Dave's predictions over WhatsApp, and we'll put them in.
Yeah, then you can go through them.
Yeah, and Lee's predictions.
Maybe do it Tuesday.
Yeah.
Although I can give you mine if you're going to do something.
Well, I'll be at work on Tuesday night.
Oh yeah.
That's why
maybe
Wednesday's
Wednesday.
probably the best day.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good shout.
I think it's been a interesting weekend as far as some football fans go.
I'd say there's been some surprises, but my estimations from last week would say that I'm not surprised by any of it.
Yeah, it's been. I'll tell you what. Let's have a little look at said results so far this weekend. Let's go. Friday's results. Let's stick with the Premier League. Da-da-da. Okay. Oh, West Ham sitting in 6th place. I saw there sneakily.
Yeah, they're above Newcastle in the Premier League now. Don't get
So,
used to it.
I mean, at the minute they're above a few teams.
so Andy, we made predictions early last week or late last week. And if we go through them again, because me and Mike went through them yesterday, but if we just go through them again, so we can catch you up with where everyone's at. Now,
Go on.
Dave and Lee aren't involved in this, although they haven't given predictions, have they, for this week?
No, they didn't do it this week.
No. So we'll start fresh. Should we use this as a practice run to make it fair, at least amongst the 5 of us?
Yeah.
Even though Mike's going to be a bit gutted because he's at the minute winning essentially with the
I am.
points. So sorry, Mike.
I am.
I don't make the rules, although I did
Thumbs
just
down.
make the rules.
I'm going to give this video a thumbs down just for that.
So on Friday, Forest beat Sheffield United 2-1. I think most people would have said that Forest would beat Sheffield, especially Forest fans.
Yeah.
What were the predictions, Mike?
Predictions were Carl said 2-0 to Nottingham. Rousey, in his infinite wisdom, said it would be a 1-1 draw. And I said it was going to be 3-1 to Nottingham.
The reason I was going with a 1-1 is because I thought Forest would score goals, but I also thought Sheffield might have a little bit of something up, a little bit more fight because of the previous week.
Yeah.
Well,
I did see it as a draw.
I watched the
Obviously, it wasn't.
game, and to be honest with you, either one of them two teams could have won that game. The only reason I went for Nottingham to win is because the home form last season was where they got all their points. I think they only got 6 points away from home last season.
Well, as far as that's concerned, anyway, me and you get a point each because we got the right outcome,
Outcome, yeah.
but we didn't get the right score.
No.
So that's 1-1-0 for Andy so far.
Yep.
Game number 2, Fulham v Brentford. Brentford beat them 3-0.
Yes, they did.
I was a little shocked. I mean, I haven't even checked, but I seen Adama Traore has obviously gone to Fulham, and him and Raul Jimenez were an incredible duo at Wolves, albeit Raul's dropped off a hell of a lot since his injury. But I could have I thought they would have at least got a goal, but hey, that's the way it was. What was the predictions for that one, Mike?
So, Carl, you put a 1-1 draw. That's what you predicted. Rousey predicted a 2-2 draw. And I said that Brentford would win 2-1.
So a point for Michael because he got the right outcome. 0 for me and Andy. Liverpool, Bournemouth, 3-1 to Liverpool.
Yep.
Although they were 1-0 down to start with, so it was a bit of a surprise that Bournemouth were leading. But
well, Bournemouth
they're
were
playing
2
at
goals
Anfield,
up
so.
in the first 2 minutes, but one of the goals was disallowed offside. And
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of those the lines were out.
Ridiculous. See, again, this would be interesting if we had a Liverpool and a Brentford fan on to have a discussion themselves about these decisions, but we haven't, so we'll carry on. So what were the points for that one?
So Carl, you predicted Liverpool to beat Bournemouth 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a point. Rousey
Yes.
predicted Liverpool to win 2-0, so he gets a point.
There you go.
And his first point on the board. Let's go.
And I said Liverpool would win 2-1, so I also got a point.
Points all around for that. Okay.
3 for 3.
Luton Burnley didn't play because Luton don't have a ground.
Not legal anyway.
Wolves Brighton.
So Wolves Brighton. Carl, you predicted Wolves would be Brighton 2-1. Rousey, you predicted that Wolves would be Brighton 2-0. I shouldn't laugh. I'm sorry.
That's
Um,
harsh. That's really harsh.
I predicted that Wolves would be beaten 2-1. So I
Fucking
received
Judas.
a point. Hey.
Anyway,
It
moving on. Tottenham United.
Tottenham,
I
Man U.
don't think many people would have predicted
No.
Spurs to win 2-0
No.
against United. My idea was because of the battering that United suffered at the hands of Wolverhampton Wanderers, that they would sort of come out the gate, albeit away at Spurs. But I kind of thought that Ten Hag would have shoved a fist up their arse after that performance, and they would have at least got a goal. So yeah, the 2-0 win for Spurs. Again, on the other side of that, I was just assuming with the lack of Kane there now, I thought it might have took them a few games to get into a new routine. But clearly they knew what they were doing that day. So
Yeah.
what was the predictions for that?
So, Carl, you predicted a 1-0 win for Man U. Rousey said 2-1 Man U, and I said it was going to be a 1-1 draw. So none of us got a point there.
So we're all losers, including United in that game.
Yep.
Sound
I
okay?
still think that game though. I don't know whether it was Tottenham played well or Man U played really bad.
See, that's what Andy asked. That's what Andy asked earlier on.
Yeah.
Again,
I don't know,
I
man.
only saw bits of it, but
The
it
first
looked
half
to me
seemed
like United were playing shit.
the first half seemed quite even. Second half, Tottenham just ruined them. Absolutely ruined them. They were
Yeah.
all over. But
From what I saw, Man U were just shit.
it was very similar to the way Wolves played. They played them straight through the middle. Like Casemiro's just by himself in the middle. There's no one there to help him.
Yeah, I think they have to change their tactics because if this is a serious problem for United and they can't change the tactics, everyone's just going to be everyone knows what to do against them now. Everyone's going to be prying down that middle. So I imagine their next game will be a bit different. Manchester City v Newcastle United. As you can probably tell from the video, we do have a United supporter here. I was trying to come at.
Whoa. Let me hold you there. I'm a Newcastle United supporter.
Is that what I said?
Not that fake United on the other side of the country that
Oh,
lose
okay.
everything.
Yeah. I didn't mention that actually. That might be worth a discussion at some point down the line as to not supporting your local team. But
Me not
maybe
supporting
we'll
my
have that
local team.
No, I just mean in general. Fans that
I was going to say.
don't support the local team. It's mainly United fans, let's be honest, and City fans now.
Yeah.
I was coming into this game, as we discussed the other night, that I think there were pros and cons for both teams. Obviously, City had a midweek game. They've lost De Bruyne, so there was a bit of, albeit it's still City, but you lose someone of that caliber in De Bruyne, and I think it's a big hit. It is a big hit, and obviously on the other side of that, with Newcastle after battering Villa, the confidence would have been there. They would have been ready and raring to go. So I predicted a 3-3, and I did say I'd either go with a 1-1 or a 3-3 because I just kind of envisioned goals at both ends. So yeah, I predicted a 1-1 draw. Obviously, I didn't win, so I had no points for that.
Yeah, Rousey predicted 2-1. No, Rousey predicted 2. Where's that? Where's that gone? Oh no, Rousey predicted 1-0 Newcastle. I
Yeah.
obviously thought Newcastle would take it 1-0, and I had to back my own team, so I went for a 3-2 to Newcastle.
What was Andy's original um, prediction? I think it was 5-0. I think it was 5-0 City.
It wouldn't
I
surprise me,
can't
but
remember saying
he
that.
I remember saying it.
he did finish he finished that with he thought Newcastle would win 1-0.
Yeah, so no points for any of us in that one.
No.
Okay.
It was. I've had 24 hours to come to terms with it, and I do think there's a lot of positives we can take out of it. Although we were beaten, and
Well, we watched it together,
yeah, there's
and
definitely lessons for us to learn from that.
from a neutral standpoint, I'd have said fair play to Newcastle. It didn't look like a typical team that turns up at City and essentially shits themselves and closes up shop. You definitely looked like you had your own game plan, and even when you went 1-0 down, it looked like you were still going for plan A rather than plan B. So, I mean, fair play. Like I say, there's a lot of teams out there that can go 1-0 down to City, Wolves included, and they just sort of start buckling.
Yeah,
And that's where they start conceding more goals. Where
yeah.
so
I think for from a Newcastle fan perspective, you gave me Man City away from home 3 years ago, and I probably wouldn't even bother watching the match. I would just expect us to lose 6-7-0. I would have no hope whatsoever that we would
I
get
think a lot
anything
of
from it.
teams, I think a
This
lot of teams
this
feel like
year,
that.
this year we went there, and I thought maybe we could get a point. I did think maybe we could get a point from them. The problem we had was the midfield was a little bit loose with the passes, but our defense proved why they were one of the best defenses in the league last year.
Yeah,
Considering they only got one goal, and here's a stat for you:
I like
um,
stats. I mean, you
since
look like you've got
Erling,
half a face on this.
sorry,
There we go. You just kept leaning more and more
sorry,
over
I was
over.
leaning on my other side. Yeah, so since Erling Haaland joined Man City, there's only 2 games in which he hasn't scored
Yeah,
in a
I
home
know
game.
this stat. Yeah,
Both of them were against Newcastle. So our midfield knows how to stop Erling Haaland from scoring goals.
yeah. I
We
also
just
know
now need to
another.
learn how to play against the midfield and behind the defence and get goals of our own.
I know another interesting stat about Erling Haaland. Since he's come into the Premier League, he's only kicked a ball 14 times. It's not true.
The
It's not true. It's not true. Um,
yeah, the rest of the time he's
okay,
just
so
shouted at it and it's gone in the back of the net.
yeah, okay, so that's yeah, no one got any
Yeah,
points for that one.
I
So
yeah, yeah.
today we'll get into a little bit more, but today's results were Villa v Everton, and Villa
Yeah,
looks like they spanked them 4-0. So
yes.
Everton in trouble again.
I didn't see the game. I only saw the highlights. And in typical Sky Sports highlights, it showed Villa have about 15 attempts, and it showed Everton have 1 attempt.
Yeah.
I imagine in the game there was probably a lot more because
Well,
obviously
the
it's
thing
only a
is,
highlight reel.
Villa have come
But
out of a battering from Newcastle, and they're at home, and they needed to react to that loss in front of the fans. And the same, ironically, situation could happen next week when Wolves are playing away at Everton. So yeah. Thanks for battering Everton Villa and making them so that they need to redeem themselves against the next team that comes to their home
I
ground.
mean, yeah,
But Villa got a good side. What was my prediction? Because
you predicted that Villa would beat Everton 2-1.
yeah, I had a good feeling they'd win. They've got goals in them, but again, I kind of presume they would concede, being as they've lost Mings now, and they're always quite leaky at the back.
Yeah,
But
that was my
um,
thought.
so a clean sheet is good
Yeah.
for Villa fans.
Rousey predicted that it would be 2-0 to Villa, so he also gets his point.
Nice one, Andy.
And I'm really annoyed that Everton didn't get one goal because I predicted 4-1 Villa.
And so you're in the same boat as all of us.
Yeah, I got a point.
A point. And West Ham v Chelsea, Andy v Dave.
Mm.
Chelsea
Believe it or not,
going away to West Ham,
yeah.
and a lot of pressure on both teams, I'd say. West Ham made a couple of decent signings. Chelsea have signed everyone else. They're like spending fortunes and not quite paying off. Again, I only sort of caught the second half today. I was out today, so I didn't get a chance to see it all. Andy didn't get to see it because he was ironically in London away for the weekend. You watched the game though? Did you watch
I
all of the
did.
game?
I did.
So
I
what was
watched.
your
Well,
feelings?
I missed the second goal because I had to go and eat. But the, Chelsea looked like they could score. Sterling Jackson link up play was really good. They were both really pacey. I think it was Jackson would have had a penalty in the first half, but he was ruled offside, so the penalty didn't stand. And the offside shout again was literally like the lines were all, it was like a hair's width offside.
Oh, okay.
If he wasn't offside, that would have been a penalty, and Chelsea would have. I think West Ham had already scored by that point, so it would have been 1-1.
Right.
Um, but the second half came out. West Ham started strong in the second half, scored the goal pretty early on.
Yeah, I saw that.
Chelsea kind of bombarded them, but again, it's one of those.
That little
You can have as many shots as you want.
mistake.
If you don't score them,
Yeah, that little mistake in midfield for then the ball to just go over the top to Antonio, very strong,
which
held
was
it up well.
yeah,
Cool, calm, done exactly what his job description, you know, said it should do. So it was a really good second goal. And then obviously the penalty at the end.
yeah,
So
decent penalty, and it definitely was a penalty. There was no question about it. It was a
yeah, I
penalty.
mean that's some debut for Consado. Fucking hell,
115 million pound penalty.
I'd love to have a Chelsea fan on here right now. Dave's away this week, so unfortunately we can't get his reaction. I'm sure we'll get it next time he's on, and we'll have a little chat about it afterwards. But
The question I've got
fuck
about
me.
that transfer, obviously, 115 million pound British transfer record,
Hmm.
ridiculous money. What is the rarest sort of player to buy? Is it a striker or is it a midfielder?
You gotta go striker in, yeah. Strikers come
So
fucking once
you've
in a
got
blue moon.
a striker who has played in the Premier League since he was what? He's been in the Premier League for 15 years or something stupid.
Hmm.
Who has gone to a foreign country for 100 mil for a British transfer record, and then Chelsea went, we can do better than you. We'll buy this midfielder from Brighton for 115 mil.
Yeah, but that's not. I get what you're saying, but the market is whatever someone's willing to pay in it. And if Brighton have put that price on their player, because that's what they believe he's worth, if someone didn't pay that, then the world would see it as he's not worth 115 million. It's only because Chelsea were okay to pay that money that he's now worth 115 million.
Yeah,
It'll still be, it's still the jury's out on that at the minute. Still, I mean, especially
the,
after that giving away
I,
that
st-
penalty, there'll be
I
a lot of
still
people
find
saying
it.
115 fucking million.
I still find it really hard to believe, like, because obviously, was it last Christmas when Arsenal bought Trossard from Brighton?
Mhm.
And he made a massive difference for Arsenal. Like, he's a really good player, and he's stood out from day. Yeah, he's obviously made his mistakes, but I mean, I can't see how since from Christmas to now.
It's it's Brighton. Brighton
Oh,
dictate
they've
what
got
they want, but everyone
they
knows that Brighton have amazing players,
yeah,
and usually the value is there. It's
yeah.
sort of got a proven track record now, so I imagine Chelsea knew what they wanted in a midfielder when they were looking at players, and you know, they obviously spotted Concedo, and Brighton are well within the rights to say, well, we don't really want to sell him, but if you want to buy him, it's going to cost you 100 million. So this is where you've got a mix of a team that didn't have to sell him, that knew they could put whatever price on his head they wanted, crossed with a team that have the money to pay it because of some form of, whether you call it desperation, um, to fill that
Yeah.
role. So you've just got two teams who agreed on a price, and now that, you know, there's massive debate around other midfielders, and oh well, if he's worth this, then he's worth this. It's a strange one because, like I say, the players are only ever worth what the other team are willing to pay. It's as simple as that. With you won't know the value until, well, end of the season, isn't it, really, before you can make an actual judgment. And
Yeah.
it's kind of unfair to say that he's not worth whatever the price is at the minute, because we haven't seen him play a full game, and he fucked up. He made a massive mistake, but anyone's guilty of making a mistake like that. You're the best players in the world that have made mistakes.
Speaking of mistakes, just going back to the Villa Everton game.
Mhm.
Did you see? I think it was Villa's third goal.
Hang on. Before we do that, let's just wrap up the points.
Oh yeah, so the West Ham Chelsea game, none of us got a point.
Okay,
Um,
so there's still
you
the
you
Palace
predicted a
Arsenal game.
draw. You predicted a draw. Andrew went the wrong way around. Andy predicted West Ham would lose 3-1,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I predicted a 2-2 draw. So none of us got a point there.
Okay.
So at the moment, as things stand with one game left to go, you have 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you've got 3 points.
Mhm.
Rousey has 1, 2 points, and I currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points.
Okay, there we go. So tomorrow's a big one. I've said, did I say
Yeah.
3-0 to Arsenal?
Yeah, you've said 3-0 Arsenal. Rousey said 1-0 Arsenal, and I've said 3-1 to Arsenal.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so we'll see how that gets on tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you wanted to mention about the Villa game.
Yeah, so the Villa game, I don't know if I think it was the third goal or the fourth goal. That goal was ridiculous from Everton. So Everton had a throw in,
Mhm.
and in their half of the pitch, sort of midway down their half of the pitch. The throw in went to go back towards sort of central defence, but the ball kind of just didn't go fast enough, and the Aston Villa the striker literally was able to run onto the ball before the defender got to it, and he was straight one on one with the keeper. It was pretty much like Everton went, you know what, we can't be asked. Here's another one for you.
All right, okay.
If you watch the highlights, you'll see it.
Heads
It's
down sort of situation, was
oh,
it?
it was one. It's one of those. It's just communication, I guess, communication and just not being aware of your surroundings. I'm guessing as a throw in, you'd want to, if you're going to pass it back to defense, you want to make sure there's no one there that's going to be a cut onto the ball.
Mm.
He wasn't like hiding at the back. It wasn't some magical, mystical run from midfield. He was just there, lingering. You know.
Yeah, I think
So
that'll probably be key when we play them next weekend, of trying to get that early goal, trying
like
to sort of break. It's tough to get to Everton, man. It's a tough ground.
I,
I
s-
get.
I said to you earlier on, if Wolves don't beat Everton next week, I will think Wolves could be in trouble. Because I
I'd say
honestly
it's still a
think
bit too early for that. It's still a bit too early, but I get what you're saying. But third game into the season, I don't
at
forget
the
we've only
moment,
just
at
got
the
a new manager,
moment,
man.
at the moment, Everton are the only team in the Premier League who haven't scored a goal. They haven't
Yeah,
got a
but we've
point.
only scored one.
You've scored one though.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You gotta sort of hold off those judgments for at least 5 or 6 games. I think it's tough.
Yeah, till maybe after the international break in September, I would say that's when you can start to see where teams are going to be.
Give me 1 second. Um, anything can happen on a live event. I need to go and put my son back into bed. Son of a bitch. We'll be back in 1 second.
Okay. Okay.
Please hold. And we're back. Okay. So Michael's not back yet. Andy's not back yet. Good job no one's watching. Right. So we are. There we go. Here's Mike. Da da da.
I'm back. Sorry.
No. So
Yeah, I did try and mention to put it on the little podcast thing before you left, but you'd already gone.
all right. So yeah, interesting weekend. So we'll probably do a midweek one.
Yeah.
Do some predictions for next week's games. A little bit gutted for the old Lionesses today.
Yeah, it was a shame, but at least we got
Shame.
there, right? At least
It's
we got there, and it's nice to see like them doing so well because it does give like young lasses and that inspiration to go and play.
yeah,
I
yeah.
know, like
100%.
when I was a kid growing up, if a lass played football, then she was piss taken out all the time for it.
Yeah, well, my sister was she was into football, and yeah, she used to get it ripped out of her when she was a kid. But
Yeah,
it's not
my
lucky for him,
daughter
man.
did.
But
Callie played football when she was younger. When she was sort of like 5 or 6, she played football for a team. When she got to, I think it was 8 year old, they turned around and said that there was only boys allowed in the team after that. No girls
it's
were
a
allowed
shame,
in
isn't
the
it?
team like after 8, and there's no real like places for just girls to go and play football. Not to take it like any sort of serious, you know. I mean, obviously as a kid you don't want to take it too serious. Obviously you want to enjoy it, but
Yeah, man.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean. There's just,
Oh
but
well.
hopefully with them winning the Euros and getting to the final of the World Cup, hopefully it'll bring it into the more the
Yeah, I don't know what
wider
you think.
audience.
I don't know what you think, but kind of felt like there wasn't as much buzz around this as there was the Euros
No,
for him. Seemed a
no.
little bit quiet, but hey, there we go.
I don't think it's helped that the games have been on like first thing in the morning because I've been over in Australia.
Yeah,
But I think once they got to like the quarters, there was a little bit more buzz than the group stages.
mm,
But yeah, it's not been. I know that there was a lot of the pubs that could open earlier today, wasn't there? A lot of the pubs were a lot open up and like serve drinks earlier than normal because the game was on early. I think they
yeah,
start serving at like 10:30 instead of 12.
yeah.
So yeah, there was a little bit of buzz there, I guess. But I think it's one of those sort of areas. It's only going to grow and get better, isn't it? The more sponsors they get and recognition they get as a sport.
Yeah, man. Oh,
Um,
fair play to him.
Because
I
at the end
think
of the day, football is for everyone, isn't it? It's one of those. It's for everyone, unless you hate it, and then it's not for you. But
sometimes even the fans hate it, Mike. I feel it's one of them. Um, okay, so we gotta have a little plan for midweek. I think, as far as these things are concerned, it's quite new. Learn a little bit as we go, I think. Um,
yeah. Oh, there's no Monday night game on next week.
no, they all played on the weekend, are they?
Yeah, Friday,
Next
Saturday,
week.
Sunday. Yeah, there's one Friday game. Chelsea
Okay,
Luton's on it
okay.
from Friday.
Okay. Uh,
Newcastle are
yeah.
also on TV again on Sunday. I
Okay.
believe it'll be the Super Sunday on Sky Sports. I believe.
Getting some viewing time on the old TV box.
Yes, we are.
Um, yeah, it's a bit of a. I feel like it is a bit of a bigger one next weekend for a few teams. Um, Other teams have gained themselves a little bit of breathing room, maybe.
Yeah,
I think United are going to be under some serious pressure, even though they've won one, lost one. It's United, so it comes with the territory. Um,
yeah. They should beat Nottingham at home, though, shouldn't they? Really,
you'd think so.
they
Um,
should. They should.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Andy's not back yet, but he says goodbye to all the viewers.
He gives everyone a large wave.
Um, and yeah, we'll pick this up midweek then, and we'll probably start our weekly
Predictions.
rollouts from next week. How do you feel
Yeah.
about just going live all the time, Mike?
Um, I mean, we can do. I don't mind. I don't mind going live. It's one of those. I can do that. Um, I think having some saved snippets that we can use at a later date can also help just for spreading the channel, the awareness.
Mm.
Shorts and that obviously are a big thing at the moment. That could
Yeah, I
always,
just meant yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I don't mind going live.
It's probably easier to interact with people.
Oh, definitely.
We want some reactions to things, some
Yeah, but I think YouTube
questions, some
saves.
opinions.
I think YouTube saves live streams anyway, doesn't it? So
I think it does.
yeah.
So this will be interesting. Can't imagine many views on this one, but
Hey,
hey,
first video ever,
it is the first video ever.
minus the half-an-hour test stream we did last night, but we won't
Yeah.
count that.
Oh, yeah, there's my cue to come off this at least.
Oh, Carl's been busy.
It's been a weekend, man. It's been a weekend.
He's
I've
still
had
getting over it. I
You
just
miss it.
before we go, I want you to put into words sincerely how it feels that Wolves lost by 4 and Villa won
Are
by
you
4.
fucking? Are you fucking with me?
Hey, I want an honest review.
My honest review
Do you think that you should
was
go to the dark side and start supporting
after
Villa
the
instead?
after the fuck you, fuck you, fuck
So
you, and fuck monetization. That's what I say.
that's a real fan right there.
Cheeky bastard.
That's a real
Um,
fan.
my honest quick review is I was fairly confident after the United game. I think most Wolves fans were optimistic. We saw what we think we should be seeing. And fuck me, we just had the wrong tactics against Brighton. It was a there was a there was intent, there was intent, but man, we unravelled. That 10 minutes of the second half, fucking hell, it just unravelled really quick. And fair play to a couple of our players who kept their heads in it, I suppose. Matthias Cunha, still didn't stop running.
No. To be fair,
But
even 4-0 down, your team didn't stop. You were always pushing to try and get at least a goal, which you
yeah, I
got in
mean,
the end, didn't you? So
the problem it's lack of experience in some aspects with um, Matheus Nunes getting sent off because you could see his frustration from earlier on in the game. You could
yeah.
see frustration on a lot of players like Pedro Neto. He'd very often have his hands up in the air and
Oh, speaking of, sorry, I'm butting in quickly. Did
it's fine.
I know today you didn't see the West Ham game, did you? Oh, you saw some of it, didn't you?
Second half.
So Paqueta obviously scored the penalty, but did you see earlier on in the game? Paqueta had the ball up in the defensive half, up next to the corner flag, like on the touchline,
Mm,
and he was getting his shirt pulled and his arm pulled a little bit by one of the Chelsea like forwards. I think it was Sterling actually,
mm,
and Paqueta stopped and looked at the linesman to say, "Why aren't you blowing the whistle?" Where then Sterling then ran away with the ball right in front of him, and instead of Paqueta sort of reacting to it, he stood there like a spoiled child, like, "What you doing? Like, why aren't you blowing the whistle?" But by this point, Chelsea were in the box about to score a goal nearly, and it all
Jesus.
started from him literally having a huff and being like, "Well, what's going on?"
I think because I suppose a lot of players at the minute, obviously they're going to understand what's card and what's not a card, but I suppose there's going to be still some grey areas. Like I saw a Villa fan today tweet because they got a penalty, didn't they, Villa? And
Yeah.
apparently it was for a pretty much identical situation as the United game. The goalkeeper come out and fouled a
Um.
Villa player potentially, and I don't know. I'm just going off what I read. A tweet saying same things. Like it's come from a Villa fan saying same thing happened at Man U Wolves and Wolves didn't get a penalty. Um, but it's the inconsistency again, and it's ridiculous. I mean, look, the Brighton game we had none of that shit, none of that controversy. We just got outplayed. So I think it wasn't.
Uh.
I mean, wasn't a good look, man. Wasn't a good look. But hey, Brighton, man, they're a good fucking side. We all kind of knew it would be a tougher game in a sense to United, just in terms of the way Brighton play, and they're a bit of a bogey team for us now. We always sort of
Mm,
we don't really get much look at Brighton, but um, we just the players just need to keep their heads in it. I think that was a good lesson in terms of you have to keep your shit together for 90 minutes, man, because
yeah.
you you start throwing your arms about and having a little thing like you say with the Paqueta thing. It's 1, 2, 3 second moan could turn into, oh well, now you're another goal down. So it's concentration levels, I think. Um, Still a bit early because obviously Gary O'Neill's still it's his second game. he only really knows the players from an outside point of view still, really. So he's still trying to learn who's who's best for what, whose attitude is this way, that way. So he's still learning a bit. I think he's got obviously a lot better of an idea after the first couple of games. But if anything, I don't really want to turn a negative into a positive in that sense. But
So
if anything, that would have shown him what happens when Wolves start to lose. And I suppose that's kind of what you want to see, because that you want to get through to him. You need, look, man, fuck it. I don't care if you're 10-0 down. You've still got to play the game, and you've got the fans are there for you, and you've got to give them a reason to cheer you on. But
but with Wolves, so how long do they give him to try and start? And then,
Unreal.
but then within the same sort of question,
It's
how long do they give him? But at the same time, do Wolves really want to try to start going down the same route that Chelsea did last year, where they've given a manager like 6 months and see you later, mate?
it's a tough
I
one, isn't
mean,
it? Because
you don't
the
want to
wo-
keep changing managers, do you? You don't. But at the same
so
time, how long can you give him to try and sort it out?
it's it's kind of a weird one, isn't it? Because you're winning games, no one gives a shit. No one gives a shit. Even if you're playing shit and winning games, no manager's getting sacked. You can have the worst
Points
game.
mean
You
prizes, don't they?
you can have 30 really shit games, but if you win 20 of them, that manager's getting fucking bonuses. Um, but you could be playing the best football in the league, but if you're not winning games, you're getting sacked. So it's a bit of a tough one at the minute. But the one thing that we have got going at the minute is we are creating chances now, which we weren't previously. So again, 2 games in, we're still creating chances. I think I myself wanted um, a, a more of a 4-4-2 with the striker that we had, Fabio Silva, coming back off loan. We got what we wanted and it didn't work. But I think it's not that it doesn't work in general. I just think the formation or that lineup was just the wrong one for Brighton. I think the problem is now is why didn't Gary O'Neill do something about it sooner? But at the same time, it's like 3 goals happened in 10 minutes. Like, fuck. You can't
Yeah.
just concede a goal and then completely change your tactics because you've conceded a goal. You've got to be like, oh, okay, we've got to push forward. It was just too attacking. We were so open at the back, so
Yeah.
open, and the
But
players that we've got at the
then,
back, they're not fast, particularly fast. Dawson and Kilman playing very high up. Brighton have got pace, man. You fucking put someone like Matama, he wipes the floor with our fucking right back, Semedo, every game he's played. I mean, he got sent off against him last time we played him because you just can't keep up with him. And as you saw in that game, probably the run that Matama done through fucking 4 or 5 Wolves players.
yeah, but it's a good goal, I like.
But again, it's like, are those yellow cards having a bit of a effect on
Oh, the
how
yellow
players are
cards are
dealing with
becoming
it?
this week seems to have just the ante's just upped
It's
for
ridiculous.
yellow cards.
The middle of the
Like,
season is going to be
but
mental. There's going
but
to
I
be key
still,
players missing from most teams
yeah,
by mid-season.
it's still it still baffles me that there's been so many yellow cards given out this week. I wonder if this is on the back of the fact that they've come out and apologised to Wolves about the decision last week against Man U. Whether that happened after all the hype before, like pre-season, about how refs were going to be on top of time wasting and all this, and VAR was going to be used better, and the referees were going to be allowed to have their own decisions stand on the field, and all this stuff that was promised to the fans.
Mm.
The first game, first weekend, and there's a decision where they have to come out and apologise. The next week, every ref's got a spring-loaded card in the pocket, and
Yeah, the
I
top.
don't know whether it's whether this week before the game start, there's going to be more issues where they're saying, look, it's been too much, that the games are going so slow, the players are scared to do anything.
It's going to backfire massively, I think, because don't
There's
forget, you've
medium,
got players getting yellows for taking too long to throw a ball in, and that's
yeah,
gonna when that turns into a suspension when the cards start mounting up,
Well, yeah, isn't it?
fuck me,
Do you
you're
get
going to
if
be
you get
looking
3
back
yellow
thinking,
cards in a
fuck.
row? Is it if you get 3 yellow cards in a row, you can get like a 3-match suspension or something? Or
I'm telling you, man, mid-season's going to be mental. There's going to be a lot of key players that are going to have to miss games because of
yeah,
stupid. So it's also a massive learning curve for the players in it because they've played so long,
yeah.
some more dark arts than the others, let's say.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
But
I understand that some of these players need to have a little bit of discipline and respect towards the officials because that's what they're there to do. But there's got to be a line. Like some refs, sometimes you find games there'll be fouls and there'll be hard tackles going in. The refs will sort of give the foul, but they'll let them go. They're the
mm,
games normally that you see the fight out of both teams. But if the first foul gives you a yellow card, the team straight away are like, wait a minute.
oh man, yeah, it massively affects the game. Like we were saying before about City Newcastle and your entire midfield run
Yeah,
yellows. It just changes
yeah,
the game because none of them can really dig in as much as they'd probably like to. But
yeah.
you're
There
massively
could be no,
affecting.
there can't be any so-called, the professional fouls.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a weird one. But I'm hoping the players sort of just hurry up and get used to stuff because no one wants to see a boring game. Because no, I mean, obviously no one wants to see anyone get injured, but some of the best games are where the refs let them just get on with it a little bit. They
Yeah,
dig into each other. Everyone wants to see a little bit of bite, but just get on with it. I mean, it's it just baffles me. And like again, I don't want to come back to the United Wolves game, but when you card in a player for taking too long to throw a ball in, but you won't even give a fucking foul to a keeper that's nearly took a player's head off. Inconsistencies, man. It's just
yeah. You were mentioning the Villa penalty there. I do remember it. The ball came into the box, but it was sort of low head height, like just like a standing header. And Ollie Watkins come in to hit the ball, and Pickford's come out and kind of like swung his arm like a left hook. And it's kind of I don't think it hit him. I think it just missed him. But it if Ollie had gone fully in for the ball, it would have probably knocked him
well, the
out
fact
cold.
is, well, the fact is, it was nearly a miss,
But it was
and
it
it
was
was
given
given
as
as
a
a
penalty.
penalty.
Yeah,
Whereas
and
we
that
had a
was
player
through. But that was
almost
checked by VAR. It was
concussed.
checked by VAR,
But
and
this is
then
the
VAR
problem.
said, "Yeah,
If ours was checked by VAR, it would have been given. But that's the point that everyone was making was why are you not letting that decision be checked by an assistant referee, assistant ref, which
that's their
that's its
job."
job. That's their job to help the ref make decisions. So hey, look, it's cost them all a job this weekend. But anyway, we'll leave it there. We'll, we'll continue Wednesday and yeah, make some predictions for the weekend. So Andy
Sounds
says
good.
goodbye, and we also say goodbye till next time.
You've got a car parked beside yours as well.
Till next time.